Welcome
Bienvenido.
and welcome in, travelers. You're listening to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We're your podcast for escaping life's monotony, indulging in your wildest travel fantasies, and discovering the constant beauty of this ever-changing world.
You may experience some turbulence along the way, so buckle up and keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the vehicle as we wander on to our next destination. On today's episode, we're visiting a popular tropical corner of the world, Hawaii.
Welcome to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. We're your navigators, Allison
and Regan. And today we're going to go to the tropical paradise that is known as Hawaii, one of the states of America. And this is one that we haven't talked about before, and we're really excited to do that. I know it's a destination that a lot of our listeners and a lot of other people are really curious about because it's exotic, it's tropical. And we have a special guest here today to kind of talk about her experience with Hawaii, and we will introduce her in just a moment. But as always, we're going to start off with our icebreaker. And today's question is, would you rather spend Christmas, now that we are coming up on the holiday season, at the beach or in the mountains? Allie, throw it to you.
Oh, being from New York, I feel like I'm always begging for warm weather come this time of year. But now that I moved to Pennsylvania, the winter is not as bad as New York. We barely had any snow, and now I'm itching to have some snow around the holidays because it doesn't feel like Christmas should be here yet.
Bet you never thought you'd say that.
I know, right? I was jealous when Buffalo was practically under snow. But I think I'm gonna have to go with the mountains just so I can have a snow kind of Christmassy Hallmark kind of vibe for the holidays. How about you, Regan?
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with that. And if you know me, I will almost always choose a beach vacation. I love the warm, I love the sand. I, strangely enough, don't actually like swimming in the ocean, but I love the beach itself. But for Christmas, yeah, you're totally right. You think of that stereotypical Hallmark town, like ski town or something, and just a cozy wintry cabin in the mountains sounds amazing for Christmas. Get me a big Christmas tree, all the Christmas lights, hot chocolate in front of a fireplace. That's where I want to be. Yeah, that sounds great. So then I'm going to throw it to our special guest, Cindy Todd, who also happens to be my mother-in-law. Fun fact. Cindy, would you rather spend Christmas at the beach or in the mountains?
Given our recent exploring, Regan, you can probably answer this for me. I go for mountains all the time. I mean, I love the beach, don't get me wrong, and I'll take a beach and sunshine over some of our winter days anytime. But really, I tend to navigate toward the mountains. I really like them, and they hold some kind of mystic appeal. I don't know what it is. It's the mountains are calling type of thing. So yeah, I go with mountains, and I'll take that cozy atmosphere like you were both describing. So.
All right.
Sounds good.
We got a majority vote here. Unanimous vote even.
Yes.
So yeah, sounds like we're all going to the mountains for Christmas, but we are going to talk all about the beach today. And like Regan said, we have Cindy Todd here talking about Hawaii. So let's jump right into our first question here. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, wife and mother, obviously. I have a daughter-in-law. I have two boys. I work full time. I'm an outdoorsy kind of a person. I love to be outside. We do a lot of camping throughout the summer, but I like to travel around the United States and explore what we have here. Gardening, stuff like that. Cooking, love to cook.
Yeah. I have to ask, how were the Thanksgiving egg rolls that we talked about in the last episode?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll let Regan answer that question. That's become our latest tradition the day after Thanksgiving. How were they, Regan?
They were as good as always. Yeah, it stands true. It's probably my favorite tradition that we have at this point. And even leftover cold the next day, yes, hit me up. It's amazing. All right, so now jumping to some more specifics about Hawaii. I know that you had a great like planning experience, and you did a lot when you were there. So can you tell us just a bit about like the basics of your experience traveling to and around Hawaii? Like what time of year did you go? How did you get there and from? What islands did you go to? Getting around once you were there? All of that sort of basic information.
Getting there is a really long trip, as you probably already know. So that was a really, really long day. If given the opportunity, I would recommend that you stay overnight in California if you're coming from the East Coast. It makes it a little bit shorter, and I know a lot of people do that. We did not. So we were exhausted by the time we got into Hawaii. As far as time of year, I don't really think that matters because the climate in Hawaii is pretty consistent. It's relatively 70, 75-ish, you could say, on average around year round, from what I understand. So time of year really doesn't matter if you're interested in like weather conditions. It does matter if you're thinking about whale watching, because of course, if you want to do the whale watching thing, it's really important that you're there more in the winter than anything else. Once we got there, what we did, because this was a 50th birthday celebration with my best friend, we decided to go all out. And when we got to the islands, we rented a black convertible Mustang. There's nothing like driving around Hawaii in a convertible so that you can really experience it. So we had that Mustang on both islands that we went to. So
That's awesome. Allie, I'm
Yeah,
feeling
that sounds awesome.
yeah, 50th anniversary, 50th birthday trip for us. I'm feeling it. We're gonna just duplicate.
How
there you
about
go.
my 25th birthday next month? That's halfway to 50.
Oh, yep,
There, you could do that too.
even better.
I know, I'm ready to go right now.
Well,
I'm
that's
back.
how our trip started, I'll tell you. It was like, you're talking about, yeah, and in jest, you're saying do it for your 25th birthday. But that's really how it started for us. Like in our mid 40s, we're like, hey, we should go to Hawaii for our 50th birthday. We should tell everybody in advance so we can bring all of our friends. And it just morphed into this real thing that happened for us. It was so exciting. But it ended up being just my best friend and I, just the two of us went. The husbands didn't want to go. I can't understand that one because they were both golfers, huge golfers, and we stayed at a golf resort. So, but we had a blast. It was great.
So I do have a question about that. Like you're saying that you started kind of talking about it a few years before you actually went on the trip. Once you started actually planning, how long did it take you to plan? Like what was your planning process?
I did a lot of the research myself. And I really, after I did that, I reached out to a friend of mine who's a AAA travel agent. And she really helped guide me and check places out for me and say, yep, this would be a good place, or nope, not that place, the type of thing. But the planning process, I would say, the serious part of it, outside of the talking, hey, wouldn't it be fun? But once we got to the point where we're like, hey, we're really going to do this, I would say it took me probably 6 months to a year, planning on and off, just doing all the research. I go overboard with research though, because I want to know where I'm going and what I'm doing, what I'm seeing, that kind of thing, and well in advance.
I feel like Hawaii is one of the places you have to plan well in advance for, just because of accommodations and travel and everything.
Yeah. And there's so much to see. You really want to try to fit it all in, I mean, when we flew into Maui and landed, one of the things that really shocked me was I saw a ski shop. And you don't really think ski shops when you're in Hawaii, but after you take a step back and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Look at the mountains they have. Yeah, it was just really exciting.
That's awesome. Sounds like there's a lot of things to do for everyone there, and I'm sure there are tons of different places to stay. So I know you briefly mentioned like you stayed in a golf resort, but did you stay in any other accommodations, or is there a specific place that you would recommend to others?
Yeah. We didn't, we stayed in one place on the Big Island, and then we flew over to Maui and we stayed in one place there. Both of them were condos. The first one was a golf resort. I'll probably butcher a lot of these Hawaiian names I attempt, so I apologize to anyone out there that might be listening and say, oh boy, she butchered that one. But we stayed at the Monolani Golf Club and Resort, it was called. And it was right oceanfront, and the only thing between us and the shore was one of the tees for the golf course. So it was really nice. It was beautiful. Same, and then when we got over to Maui, we stayed right on Kaanapali Beach, in a condo there, waterfront or oceanfront. So it was nice. It was beautiful.
That sounds amazing. I'm like just
Yeah.
dreaming up right now. And also, no worries about your pronunciation. Our listeners already know how bad we are at Icelandic. So there's no expectation of that here on this podcast.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff to do. I mean, at the Big Island, one of the things that really impressed me when I got there was on Route 19, which is kind of like their main drag. There's a lot of lava fields. It's all you see is dark brown rock everywhere. And there's just these huge, expansive lava fields. And along the road, they have taken, and this goes on for miles, they take this white coral, and there's little messages that people put with this white coral against the contrast against that dark chocolate brown lava. And it could be anything from an outline of a state. I saw an outline of the state of Texas, to marriage proposals, to memorials of people who have passed and things. It's just really cool to see. And once you get in there, of course, you've always got the mountains to one and behind you if you're facing the water, of course, and then the ocean in front of you. No matter where you are, it seems like it's pretty much the mountains, on the interior, and then it's just beach and waterfront. It's just gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
So it sounds like no matter what your answer is to our icebreaker for today, if you're listening here, go to Hawaii and you can have the best of both worlds, is what we're saying.
Oh, absolutely. Well, they say that there's, I want to say it's 7 microclimates is what they have over there. So you can experience a lot of different things. When we were, and this was on the Big Island, we took a road called Saddle Road, and it actually is between Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa mountains, volcanoes. So actually, it's the one that's erupting now. And it goes from like the northwestern side of the island, I want to say it is, across to the complete opposite side into Hilo. So we were over in Hilo, which once you get down there, it becomes more, the vegetation is amazing, and it's rainforest and it's rainy. They average something like 200 inches of rain a year, where on the side that we stayed, which is on the Kona side, it was more dry and arid feeling almost, that you would think of tropics, right? So the climate changes are quite surprising.
Yeah, that sounds like Zootopia. Just a random thought I had. But okay, so question, if you stayed in one place on the island, how long did it take you, say, to like when you were going off on one of your excursions, how long would it take you to get to like the other side of the island? What would that day be?
Yeah, to the other side is not a problem. I want to say it's the Big Island you can do in like 3.5 hours. You can tour, you can actually drive the whole island. Don't quote me on that, but I want to say it's something like that. When we were on the Big Island, we did the entire island in one day. Maui was a bit longer. That was a really long day, but we did do the whole island all the way around the road to Hana, and then the backside of the road to Hana. And then back up the other coast, and that took us the entire day. We got in very late that day, but it was so worth it.
And now a quick word from our sponsor. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. The entire web becomes listenable for the first time, all in one place. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling and start listening. You can follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, tech, business, science, Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And the best part, they have podcasts. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. You can even find us there. I started using it as my default podcast app. They even have a digital radio. Download and use Newsly for free now at www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use promo code WIVES. That's WIVES. And you can get a 1-month free premium subscription. You can find all this information in our description from this episode. And now back to our episode.
All of the things that you've done, you said that you've done, like, you did the island in a day, drove it, Maui, kind of the same thing. So what ended up being some of your favorite things to do or places to go?
My favorite places to go on the island, we went to the volcano park. You can drive around the park. Obviously, it's humongous. It's just huge. So you drive around the park with different places you can stop. You can view the crater. You can see all the steam vents and stuff like that. There's actually lava tubes, and there's one that's called the Thurston Tube, and you can actually walk right through it. It's huge. So that was quite interesting. We also took the helicopter tour over the top of Kilauea. It was one of those things that was amazing to see, but it was kind of sad at the same time, because you could see where, where the eruptions were and where the lava was flowing, and how it can take out neighborhoods. So, pray for the people who are in Hawaii today that might be in the path of that lava. But seeing all of that, flying over it was great. The road to Hana, which was in Maui, was beautiful. I want to say it's something like 52 miles long. It's got an amazing amount of turns that you go around, hairpin turns and all that kind of stuff. And it goes through along the shore. You see all of the waterfalls. You can stop anywhere you want and get out if you want to take a swim, or see the cliff divers jumping in. There's one bridge that we were crossing, had people standing on top, that lived there, and they would say, "Hey, you want to see us jump in for $5?" That type of thing. So they hang out waiting for the tourists to come through so that you can see them dive. And this one woman that was there, also on a trip with a bunch of her friends, said, "I don't need to pay you." She went and she jumped herself. But the road to Hana was beautiful. And the road to Hana in Maui is one that a lot of people talk about. You might hear that a lot because it's very popular to do. If you ever have the opportunity, make sure you either stay overnight, maybe at the halfway point, so you can continue on beyond the road to Hana, because it goes from that lush tropical paradise into almost like a desert environment. A lot is very arid and a lot of plains. And I actually like the backside even better than the front. Talk about one-lane roads. You ever see those? Sometimes you might see on a movie where someone's driving along a mountainside and they're in a lane that's only about a car width. Well, there was a couple of those that we drove on in that convertible. I've got a picture of me just with the camera just out the side of the driver's door, and there's the cliff right there. And my best friend that was with me is afraid of heights. Good thing she was on the inside, because she kept saying, "How can you even look over there? I don't know how you're doing this. How are you driving?" It's just beautiful no matter where you go. I would really say that if you're going to go and you can do it, drive it yourself. Don't bother with some of those group tours that you do. They're wonderful. I'm sure they are. But your time, right? And you can't stop where you want and do what you want. Go off the beaten path. I used Frommers and just used that guide. And it took me to this oceanfront in the back of a neighborhood that was 2.5 miles off of the main road. And it was just incredible to go back there. And some of my most favorite pictures that I took, which were close to 1,000, is that picture of me back in that neighborhood.
I'm ready to go, Regan. Are you ready to pack your bags?
I'm already packed. I don't know what you're waiting for.
That's right. My birthday's next month, so hopefully you're already packed.
Here you go.
Surprise.
Bring lots of sunscreen.
Yeah, that's good. Our next question actually was going to be like, what are some things that you knew before traveling to Hawaii, or maybe things that people should know, like things to pack, or was it really expensive, or was it maybe as expensive as you thought it was going to be, since it is, so far away from the States? What are some tips that you have for our listeners?
Yeah, one of the biggest warnings that I did get was, "Oh, wait till you get there. The food is going to be outrageous, because everything has to come in from the mainland." And to a certain degree, that is true. And one of the things that shocked me was to see a 5-pack or 6-pack, whatever they are, of Sara Lee bagels for $7. I was like, okay. So, the prices are up there. Some of the prices were very reasonable. Yes, lots of sunscreen. Like I said, I don't joke about that, because that will be expensive over there. And you don't really need to pack a lot. Bathing suit, and a couple of cute little jumpers or something, and you've got it made. You really don't need a lot over there. Like a lot of tropical areas, they're pretty laid back, and you don't have to worry too much unless you're going out to a special event. And of course, you're going to want to dress, dress up a little bit more, but everything is pretty casual.
I do have one question in terms of like events. Did you go to a traditional luau or anything like that?
We actually went to a luau in Maui, and it was oceanfront. So they started dancing right on the beach, and it was a Polynesian luau. I guess with the Polynesian flair, if you will, what they did was they showcased the influences on the Hawaiian culture was Tahiti, New Zealand, and Samoa. But the food and just experiencing the culture and the dance, because what they did was a 4-course where they would actually bring out from one of the influences, I should say, like New Zealand or Tahiti, a certain food, and then they would do a dance. And then the next course would be another food from another influence. So it was really cool. Wash it all down with the Mai Tai and you're good.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah. The snorkeling is out of this world. Something that I absolutely love to do is snorkel. That was my basic morning every single day on Maui. I would walk down to Black Rock. It's a pretty popular area, especially for me for snorkeling. I went down there every single morning by 6:15, 6:30, do some snorkeling, and I'd be back to the room by probably 10 o'clock in the morning, and I had my snorkeling fixed, and we still had the full day ahead of us. If you have snorkeling experience, of course, I would not recommend doing any of the trips that they have. I went to a local snorkel shop or scuba shop, and I picked up snorkeling gear for $20 for the whole week. So yeah, so that's my probably the biggest tip I can give you for saving a little bit of money there. And if you want to do it on your own and you have never snorkeled before, make sure you practice. Seriously, people say like in a pool or even in a bathtub if you have to, because it just doesn't feel normal to breathe underwater, you know?
I feel like it's a special skill to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Bring your inhaler. Like me and Allie, we're packing our inhalers. Well, we're kind of already talking about this, but do you have any other like favorite memories or stories from your trip that came up?
I got a lot of them. I mean, really, for me, the good one is the plumeria. Oh, the plumeria. The flowers are incredibly fragrant. Every day I would go and pick one off the little tree that was out next to our condo and bring it in, put it next to my bed because they're so fragrant. And just having that smell, I mean, it was amazing. It was over Mother's Day that we happened to go. So that was kind of memorable because I ended up finding a local church on Maui. It was interesting because, again, you feel the culture just being there. It had windows up and down the entire church. They were all open. The front doors were all open, and you got that beautiful ocean breeze coming in. And being Mother's Day, there were fresh flowers everywhere. And out in front, they do, instead of having like a bake sale, it was leis and just anything that you could possibly imagine made out of flowers they were selling out front. So that was a nice memory to have there. So yeah, there was a few things, you know, I could really talk probably for hours about different memories. I mean, on the Big Island, in the first place that we stayed at, they had these ancient fish ponds, which dated back, they took samplings off the bottom and it dated back to 250 BC. And it was the royalty of Hawaii that lived in the area. So they had these ancient fish ponds where they would raise the fish and all the seafood using the ocean water for all the royalty. So that was kind of interesting to see all that kind of stuff too. Donkeys and goats galore. Running wild. You see a donkey crossing, which is unusual. You know, we're used to seeing maybe cow crossing or horse crossing or something like that. But over in Hawaii, they've got donkey crossing signs. So,
Wow. Sounds like your trip was fantastic. And I think I probably already know the answer to this, but on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you recommend a trip to Hawaii?
I'd say 12. Yeah, I would, you know, if you can do it and you've got the time to do it, because you figure with travel time and all that stuff, and then of course jet lag and trying to, you know, acclimate to the time change and all that stuff. Take a 10-day trip if you can. That's what we did. It was a 10-day trip, and just know ahead of time what you're going for and what you're going to visit, because otherwise you miss a lot. Like one of the cliffs that we saw, and again, it was off the beaten path, I found out were ancient burial caves in there of those kings. and they were in 2,000-foot cliffs. So stuff like that, you would never really know unless you do some good research before you go and know what you want to look for and have an idea. And of course, a good handy phone for searching the internet while you're cruising around.
Well, thank you for all of those tips and sharing your stories and everything. It sounds like it was amazing. So I'm really interested for this one last question that we have to see how this vacation stacks up. And this might be a little bit of a tough question. I know it is for us, but could you share with us your top 3 favorite places that you've ever traveled to? And then your top 3 places that you want to travel to that you haven't yet been to?
Well, I would say Hawaii is my top. Hawaii is my top. And after that, I would say Aruba. I've been to Aruba twice. Both of them were cruises. But Aruba really struck me was the water. Very similar to Hawaii. And then my third choice would be Montana, Wyoming. I went out there a few years ago for Yellowstone, and I can't wait to go back again.
And then also your top 3 places that you want to go.
Europe, it's probably too broad. So anywhere in Europe, the whole thing if I can. So I'll take that as choices 1 and 2. And then I would love to go to Israel. I would love to go to Jerusalem, and that whole area.
Good stuff.
All right, I think that's all we have for Hawaii with Cindy. Thank you so much for coming on our episode. We learned so much from you, and I'm sure our listeners did as well.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun.
Truly our pleasure. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wanderlusting Wives podcast. Come escape with us again every other Tuesday. Give us a subscribe and a follow on all of our social media and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And until we chat next time, wander on.